One of the biggest mysteries of Wreck-It Ralph is the arcade manager, Mr. Litwak. Is he aware the characters are real and self-aware, or does he have no idea? We are first introduced to Mr. Litwak when we see kids coming into the arcade, and he opens a door for them. Honestly, not much to learn here. The next time we see him though, is when Ralph isn't there to play his game, and the girl playing realizes, and tells Mr. Litwak that the game is tripping, and he comes over and slaps an out of order sign on the game, which is actually terrifying. You see, in this universe, when a game is slapped with the out of order sign, this means it's going to be unplugged soon. And when a game is unplugged, all the characters in the game literally die, or have to escape in time and become homeless. He even talks about putting the characters into retirement, which is practically what being homeless means, which could have been a coincidence of words, but I don't know. Now, what Mr. Litwak did here seems normal and not out of the ordinary, but I want you to remember this, because it's actually very important and we'll come back to it later. Now, we don't see Mr. Litwak for a while, until Fix-It Felix and Sergeant Calhoun are walking around Sugar Rush, and Fix-It Felix tells us a story about Turbo. So pretty much, Turbo Time was the most popular game in the arcade, and Turbo loved the attention until a new game called Road Blasters was plugged in and instantly became a hit, and this made Turbo mad, and he ended up going into the game and trying to ruin it. And Mr. Litwak wastes no time and places an out of order sign on the machine. First off, any normal arcade machine could never have a malfunction like this. Characters shouldn't be able to go into other games. Mr. Litwak just got literal proof that these arcade machines aren't like the others, and saw firsthand that Turbo, a character from Turbo Time, made his way into another machine. So he has to be slightly aware that these characters are somewhat real. Also, the fact he instantly unplugged both is suspicious. Let's take it back to earlier, when I was talking about the fact he put an out of order sign on Fix-It Felix Jr. Most normal arcades, when putting a game out of order, unplug the machine to save power. But Mr. Litwak kept the machine plugged in, as if he was giving the characters a warning and time to escape the machine and go to the power ship to be homeless. But at least they're safe and alive. But here, he wastes absolutely no time and just unplugs both of them, as if he was trying to get rid of Turbo as fast as possible to protect the arcade characters from this threat. Now, we don't really see Mr. Litwak for a while. I mean, we technically see him in King Candy's story, where he manipulates Ralph to sabotage Vanellope from racing, but this isn't really him. It's just a hypothetical story where he sees Sugar Rush glitching and unplugs it, and then we don't see Litwak to the end of the movie, when he realizes Ralph is back in his game and he gets really excited. Hey, Ralph's back, isn't that great? The gang's all here. Now, obviously it seems he's happy because his game is fixed, but that's not really how he words it. He words it as if he's seeing people he cares about. If my arcade machine got fixed, I would simply just say, hey look, my game's fixed, that's cool. But the fact he gets excited seeing Ralph back together with all his buddies shows he genuinely cares and loves these what should be simple video game characters. We also see that Ralph invited homeless characters to play in his game to make the game more unique and fun. This obviously should not be possible, and any normal arcade manager would see this as a glitch and a bug and probably unplug it or get it fixed. But Mr. Litwak keeps the machine up and running, which means he has to be aware of the homeless characters and probably was happy that they were finding a new home. Also, I want to focus real quick on this guy, the Surge Protector, who is pretty much the police officer in this Power Strip's hub. This guy pretty much just keeps the hub safe and ensures everything is running smoothly. For example, when Ralph leaves Pac-Man with a cherry, he stops him and does a security check to make sure he isn't bringing something into his game. Now, obviously normal Power Strips don't have an entire hub, but they for sure also don't have a Surge Protector. It honestly somehow makes sense that the characters can walk around freely in the Power Strip, but having this guy is a lot more suspicious. For this Surge Protector to exist in this Power Strip, somebody would have had to coded him in, meaning someone knows that these characters are real and needed someone to look after them in this arcade world. And by someone, I'm talking about Mr. Litwak. Obviously, he can't do much in the real world to help out with the characters, but coding in a Surge Protector is perfect for being able to protect them in the arcade world. Now, you might be questioning why I'm so sure of Mr. Litwak, and the reason I am is because of the whole plug system. If being unplugged can literally kill all these characters, it seems practically impossible for the electricity not to go out just once. I mean, 30 years of this arcade being around, and you're gonna tell me they haven't been unplugged once? It honestly seems impossible. Not to mention the fact I'm pretty sure most arcades unplug their machines at night to save electricity. So why does Mr. Litwak keep the electricity on 24/7, even keeping on out of order machines? He has to know more than we think he does. This also makes me question the fact Mr. Litwak, in 30 years of running this arcade, has never seen the characters do something out of the ordinary. Of course he saw Turbo going into another game, but besides that, I'm sure he's seen countless other things. These characters aren't real game characters. They have to be bound to mess up sometimes. Maybe not move perfectly on an input, maybe walk past the screen without thinking about it. There's literally no way Mr. Litwak hasn't caught them in the act of doing something. Also, this brings me back to the fact Mr. Litwak never gets someone to fix the arcades. I'm sure it's expensive to fix an arcade machine, there's no doubt about that, but why does he always end up throwing the machines out instead of fixing it? Maybe because he knows these aren't normal arcades, and no random person could code something like this. For example, putting Ralph back into the game. Ralph has free will. These characters all do. Now I'm sure the programmer could add another Ralph to the game, but this character wouldn't be like the other characters. He would probably only move when prompted to, and it would be really weird. Also, by getting rid of the machines, he can ensure their safety by allowing them to be homeless and at least alive, rather than the person probably resetting the machine and wiping them all out. Now every scene we see of Mr. Litwak is him around other people, and he would look cuckoo just talking into the machines. We also don't see much of him to be able to have a solid claim, but from everything I just talked about, it seems like he genuinely cares and tries his hardest to take care of these characters no matter what, and that's something you can't deny. From the surge protector to the out of order sign and keeping the game plugged in, and instantly trying to get rid of turbo time to protect the characters from the threat. But one thing that always confused me into not believing this theory was the fact he allowed King Candy to roam around Sugar Rush and never batted an eye. There's no reason he shouldn't know the roster for all the games he has by now. I mean, he practically lives at this arcade. So why not be suspicious when Vanellope, the supposed main character of Sugar Rush, disappears and King Candy becomes a new main character? Now, Sugar Rush was a newer game, so it could be he wasn't that familiar with it, but also, I'm sure he puts his trust in the Surge Protector at times too, because there's kinda no way he can see what's going on truly in the arcade world, but from Ralph and the interaction between the Surge Protector, we can see it's kinda easy to lie to him. Ralph lies about having a cherry, and actually gets away with it. Not to mention he also failed to stop Ralph, Fix-It Felix, and Sergeant Calhoun from freely entering Sugar Rush. There's really no way for Mr. Litwak to be sure that his Surge Protector is doing a bad job. So here's how I see it. Not only does Mr. Litwak think that Turbo is dead, but also probably believes that if Turbo was alive, the Surge Protector would stop him. And I think he knows that the characters actually have free will. Because when Mr. Litwak put an out of order sign on Fix-It Felix Jr. after seeing Ralph gone, this showed him that the characters can actually just not show up for a game, and he can't truly know if they died in another game or quit wanting to do their duties, and he can't do anything about this. So when Mr. Litwak saw that Vanellope wasn't in the roster anymore, he probably assumed the same with Ralph. But the thing is, the game was still operating smooth and perfect. There was no problem, unlike Ralph's game. And then with King Candy, he probably assumed he was a homeless character. He can't really assume that King Candy was evil. I mean, most of us in our first watch had no idea he was evil, and we were actually in the arcade world. So how could he know? He probably came to the assumption that Vanellope either made a deal with King Candy to give him a new home in life so that she could just do nothing, or that Vanellope quit or died and King Candy saw an opportunity and replaced her and got a new home in life. Now I know you're probably confused, because King Candy obviously isn't a character from another game, so how could Mr. Litwak not know this? Now he has been at the arcade for 30 years, so it could be he just genuinely forgot and assumed this was a character back in the old days. But also it's kind of impossible for him to know everything about this arcade. I mean, it was possible for Turbo to code himself into King Candy, so how could he know that? But besides all of that, I think it comes down to one simple point. The game was still running, and it's very unfair of him to pull the plug and kill all of these characters just because of one tiny bug. The kids still loved it, it was still racking in money, there was really no point to pull the plug on this game. So technically he was doing the right thing. I always thought it was scary that he held this power of being able to kill these characters, and it really scared me because I thought he had no idea. But now after overthinking about him, I think these characters are extremely lucky to have Mr. Litwak as their arcade manager. But I don't know. I'm just overthinking watching Wreck-It Ralph and stuff, and overthinking and watching movies. And also, I want to give a shout out to user YE6ZI6PHIG for the idea to overthink this character. Okay, bye.